let's start our class now. I hope you all are good. Today our lecture is about the assignment that have given to you, and we will discuss the activities that are given in the assignment. There are two activities in assignment. We have to do these activity according to this scenario. We have to develop a mobile based application that can be installed on cell phones. That is a recruitment company, that is best fit recruitment company. They are providing different services to organization. This application is about employer and employee services, like both who is hiring the employee and the person who is working inside the organization, both can use that application. You are a part of a team who have less knowledge or no knowledge about computer, like we have no idea about anything of the computer, or we know some little bit things about computer. The developed application will be used when employee is not available inside office. So we can say that we are not using that application in working hours. We have to use that application after the working hours. So we can say that we have to use that application when we are not available inside the office, for the connectivity towards the office. When employee is not inside office, they can access following information. So that application will provide the following services to both the person who is in administration and who is working under that administrator. Request and absence, like we can request a leave, check their history and time of a leave balances, like we have not taken any. There are some casual leaves that are in our balance, and we can see that how much leaves we have obtained and how much leaves there is remaining. Then we can view their absence history, like the user can see on which dates they was absent and not present inside the office, and how many days in a year they have marked absent. These are at the employee side. On the manager side, the manager can approve or reject the leave request or absent request. View past and future absent. We can mark the coming holidays, like if you want to attend any function in future, we can put the application before the date, and in previous we can see, administrator can see how many leaves are obtained by that employee. Then view employee contact details, like if they want to contact with the employee, they can see their phone number, their email, and their staff identity numbers that are unique for every employee, where along with their id numbers, there must be available the available information is the phone number and the email address of that employee. Now, in the first activity, according to the scenario, team members and the managers have less knowledge about computing and they don't know about software development methodology. Like they came to you and they are requesting you to develop an application. So they have no command on the computer knowledge or on computer software development methodologies. So you have to provide them the following guidelines. We have to tell these things to the manager as well as to the employees. In other words, we can say that we have to give a training session to both employer and the employees. Difference between application software and system software, evaluation of software development methodology, how we can evaluate software development methodology, and phases of software development method, how many phases are there in development of a software. So first of all, we have to give a detailed knowledge towards the organization. So in activity one, the first thing is that we have to explain what is application software and what is system software. Then we have to differentiate between them. We have to tell how application software is different from system software and how system software is different from application software. So first thing is that application software. Application software is type of computer program that performs a specific personal task, educational task, or a business function that vary person to person which type of software must be available inside their systems. So we can say that all these softwares are available for a specific task. Like on Microsoft Word, we can design only the documents. On Paint, we can do any graphical, we can draw any graphical images. Whenever we are using PowerPoint, we can only make presentation. So these are specific purpose softwares. that are not necessary or essential for the working of our computer. If any of the software is not available inside the computer, although we are not going to perform, or if the PowerPoint is not available inside our computer, we are unable to generate the presentation, but the all working of our computer will be continue in a proper manner. So each application is designed to assist end users in accomplishing a variety of tasks. Like different tasks can be assigned and done by using these kind of software, which may be related to the productivity, creativity, or communication. Like we are using Skype or different software that are used for communication. For productivity, we can make icons and different logos and different things in graphic software like in Corel Draw. And we can use these software for educational purposes, like we can use Google Chrome to search something about any topic. So the most common system application software application platforms are used by millions of people every day. According to their needs, they are using different sort of softwares. Like Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint is using everywhere in students life and in business area. They are designed to help with specific tasks, simplify workflows. Like if we don't have Microsoft Excel sheets and we are doing the paperwork, that will there will be a lot of workload on our employee who is doing the calculation. So that simplify workflows and improve communication across the teams. Like we can make a group inside WhatsApp or other applications can be used for the communication purpose. And after the working hours, we can also communicate with our colleagues and with our persons or with our administration. So examples of application software are Microsoft Office, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, etc. Browsers, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Internet Explorer, and communication softwares include Slack, Skype, Zoom, and Teams. System software. As the name indicates, the system software is related to the system that is used to do the journal task. Like application software is used to maintain specific task for which the software is designed, but the system software is used to maintain routine task or journal task that is related to the system. Like the administration of the system, handling the errors inside the system, handling memory management inside the system, handling peripheral devices of the system. If you want to share any data and we want to ensure that all the items are copied from one place to another or not, so for that purpose, in the background, the operating system or the system software is running in the background to make sure that all tasks are doing in a proper way. So system software can be designed and as the software in such a way that it can control and work with computer hardware. So we have to manage each and every hardware component by using these set of instructions that are included in system software. It acts as the interference between the device and the end user, as the user is not directly communicating with the hardware, or we cannot use or manage the hardware by ourselves. So we have to install a set of instruction in between the hardware and in between the user. That set of instructions are the system software included in system software. It also provides the platform for running of other softwares. Like if we have not installed any type of system software, like over utility programs or over different applications, we are unable to do any task on the computer. So whenever we want to install any new software, even a printer or scanner inside the computer, first thing is that we must have to use the operating system inside our system. That is an example of system software. If we have not installed the Windows inside our system, we are unable to do anything on our computer. So examples of system softwares are operating system, antivirus softwares. So now when you are sure about what is system software and what is application software, now we are able to tell the employee and the employer what is difference between the application software and the system software. So in your activity number 1, you have to differentiate. So in activity number 1, the first task is that you have to elaborate the difference between the application software and in the system software. Now the second point in the first activity is that you have to explain what is software development methodology. As we have a better idea about the software development methodology, as software is set of instructions or is a layout for solution of any problem, so we have to design these set of instructions in a proper manner. So we can say that software development methodology refers to the structured process involved when working on a project. Whenever we have to start a project, we have to go through the planning, design, implementation, deployment, updation. So we have to follow these activities in a proper mannered way. So we can say that the process which tells how we can do these tasks in a proper managed way, these this process is known as software development methodology. It is a blend of design philosophies and pragmatic realism that stretches back to the early days of computing. So from very start of the day, we are using that kind of development methodology. The goal is to provide a systematic approach to software development methodology. If we are not following any proper sequence, we can not perform any task in a proper manner. So we have to use a well mannered approach to make our software more efficient and more accurate. Why we have to use software development methodology? It needs to be stressed that it's crucial to choose a software development methodology. So we can say that for choosing a software development methodology, we have to do the research, then we have to do paperwork, we have to take the meetings, or we have to arrange meetings in between the organizations, so we can decide which software development methodology must be used. That is another stress on the team members as well as on the management. So we can skip that if we want to avoid that stress, but there are numerous risks when we are retaking software development methodology. When we are taking it for granted, we are not focusing on the software development methodology, and there can be some risk, like we have no way of communication, we don't know when we have to conduct the meeting, where we have to make the documentation, where we have to give the timelines, and how we have to sign over agreement with our customer. So the software development method give us a way. By following that way, we can approach our goal. Without structure guidance, developers can suffer from customers ever changing request, and even more so we are there are miscommunication. So when we are not communicating, we don't know why, when we have to make a communication with the customer, and where we have to conduct the meeting with them, there will be miscommunication, and they abruptly saying that they need some changing, or in the last of the software, when we have developed all the activities inside the software, the customer can demand the changes. That is stuff at the end. This leads to frequent revision in the software without considering the overall implications of the project. So we have to adopt the methodology if we want to make a efficient software. The result, if we are not adopting any methodology, wastage in time, money, and effort, with the risk of producing a subpar application that does not bring much to the table. So our customer will not be satisfied, and in the future they are not coming to us for development of any software. Software development methodologies are developed to for the benefit of both for the development team as well as for the customer. As we have different steps, at these steps we are communicating with our customer, and customer is giving the feedback. So the customer is well familiar what we are doing, and we are also well familiar either the customer is satisfied with our work or not, and on proper time we can take the steps or we can make the changes. So choosing the right one ensures that discussions are conducted on a proper channels, and decisions are made after evaluating all factors. Now, different software methodologies are available. Some common software development methodology, as we have studied in our previous lectures. What was the first or the oldest methodology that we was using? Have any idea? As we have discussed all these methodology in very detail. in the previous time, which methodology we was using?
Miss, there is waterfall, Scrum.
Okay, the waterfall method was a previous method on which we was working, but there was some flaws in waterfall method, so we have adopted other methods in our software development methodology. So developers have to choose from various methodologies. Most of the methodologies fall can be categorized as either the waterfall, iterative method, or continuous model. We have to repeat different tasks multi times, or we have to follow each step one by one, or we are dividing our task into subtasks, like we are dividing our whole problem into sub problems, and then we are following each and every step on each part of problem, and in the end we are collecting all the solutions at one platform that is a proper solution of our problem, so that is easy to solve a problem in a smaller parts. So a soft waterfall methodologies follows a fixed sequence in implementations. Stages of development are defined in rigid sequential manner, like the output of the first stage will be the input of second stage, and the output of second stage will be the input of the third stage. So we are following each and every task in a sequence, like as the name suggests, the waterfall means we are going in a one direction. There is no coming back in that model. So we can say that that is a
So, Miss,
rigid.
it means that you cannot go back and make changes to the step 2 or the previous steps, right?
Yes. So that is a rigid methodology. So according to that structure, some projects that needs change, like if we want to make a new interface for any software, we cannot adopt that methodology as interfaces demands the changes. Like we are designing any logo for a company, we can't adopt that methodology. The iterative model offers an alternative for software development that's less focused on rigid documentation but provides room for constant revisions. Like we are developing in small parts and we are delivering that small parts to the customer, and the customer can give the feedback. We can make changes from start to end, so we can fulfill the requirements of our customer. It uses multiple sprints. The parts of the problem is known as the sprint to quickly build and test ideas to ensure they are relevant to the user. So we have to take the demand from the user on which part they are, which features must be fulfilled at the start of the project. So we have to put that sprints at the top, and then we have to move towards the next sprints. As such, problems get fixed early on, and the team stays within the project's goal. As we are conducting the feedback from the customer, so we will be on proper channel. Agile and Scrum are two of the most popular iterative software development methodology. We can say that we nowadays we are using Agile or Scrum methods for the development of our software. The continuous model is inspired by the Toyota production system. It is about minimizing break or ensuring the flow between different phases of the development. Like we have to ensure that we are following each and every step, and after each and every step we are delivering something to our customer. The goal of continuous software development approach is to avoid wastage and improve the efficiency of various phases. There are uh, 8 of the most popular software development methodologies favored by the modern developers. Agile development methodology. We have discussed all these methodologies in our previous lectures. In today's lecture, we are only going through these methodologies, as we have to give the idea to our organization for which we are going to design the mobile application. As we have discussed, they have no idea about the computer, or they have no knowledge about
So,
computer.
Miss, how many can we mention for this assignment? Like maybe 2, 3? Or should we mention like about like 5 or more?
We are only designing a single application, so we can choose any one of the methodology, or we can
Oh,
combine
I
one
mean,
or
no,
more methodology.
like for this assignment activity 1, you're saying to give, like to explain a few of them, or we choose one and explain, or we like, it's just general, right now?
We have to choose only one. Then first thing is that we
Explain
have
that
to give
one.
Okay, in activity number one, we have to explain these things towards our customer. Like in the first activity, we have to
Yeah.
give a
And then later
presentation
on we
like,
choose.
so they can assist you to choose, our whenever we are giving the suggestions or guidelines to that person, these are the methodologies and we are choosing one from them, then we have to justify why we are using that methodology, or what are the benefits of behind our choice. So whenever we are explaining that thing to our customer, then we can give them a reason why we are choosing that methodology. So we can say that, our in other words, we can you can say that we have to compare these methodologies, and then we have to choose one methodology. No extra detail is required, only we have to write the comparison between these methodology, so we can justify why we are choosing a specific methodology.
Okay. Okay, miss. Thank you.
Okay. Agile development methodology. In agile, as we have studied, that is giving a room for the change, so that is not rigid as the waterfall model was. So it takes different approach from conventional linear method. Agile focus how to satisfy user instead of emphasizing on the documentation. We are not giving a lot of time to the documentation, we are only giving our time to the implementation. With agile, tasks are broken into short sprints, as I discussed. We have to do, like in our methodology or in our application, we have to divide our whole problem into sub problems. Like we can say that at first part we are making a record of the over attendance, then we have to check, we have to make the record on how many days or on which days the employee was absent, or we can start from collecting the data of our employee. So we have to make the sprint from our whole problem. We have to choose a sprint in a shorter length, so we can complete that sprint from 1 to 4 weeks. So that is an iterative model that involves multiple tests as the development progresses. Like when we have collected all the data from the employee, we have to show that data towards the customer so they can rectify that all the data is correct or not. Developers continuously seek feedback from the customer and make changes to the software. If any changes is required inside the employee data, we can make changes to that data, and then we will move towards the next sprint. Communication is a priority in agile, particularly between developers, customers, and the users. Waterfall model, as we have discussed, that is a rigid model. We have to do the documentation on each step, and we have to fulfill each step, and then we have to move towards the next step. We are only developing all our project at once, and then we are delivering our project to the customer. Then customer will demand the changing, that is known as the deployment. Then making changes in the last takes a lot of time, so sometimes that method is not helpful for the organization who is developing the software. So we are still using that waterfall model, as it is a simple model. It is simple linear method where development stages are arranged into sequential cascading processes. The waterfall development methodology is easily understood, which make it popular for teams with lesser design experience. So whenever we are switching towards the linear continuous methodology or in a sprint manner, we need expert persons. So although the methodology matters a lot, but we have to see either our team has potential or not. So which type of persons are involved over in our development team. Each stage must be completed before moving on to the next. For example, all the requirement must be established before going towards the design. Just like how waterfall flows in one direction, there is no going back in this approach. This makes waterfall a non-flexible method and to be avoided for projects that need rapid changes requirements. Lean development, which we have to adopt some principle, and we have to minimize the wastage. So we can say that it focuses on the minimizing the wastage and increasing the productivity. If we have to focus on the efficiency, we have to use the lean development. If we want to make a error free software, we have to use the lean development, but it can take a lot of budget. But if we have the budget issue, we can't use the lean development. In the Toyota inspired methodology also emphasizes continuous learning and defragment of the decision. It empowers team to keep an open mind during the course of development and consider all the factors before finalizing a decision. We have to consider each and every solution before we are choosing the solution for our problem, so we have to choose best one. So as the in the start we have I told you that we are only focusing on the productivity. We are not focusing on the budget, we are not focusing on the time, only we need a efficient project. With the lean methodology, developer are tasked to identify bottlenecks that could hamper the process, so we can check what are the drawbacks or what can be the problems inside the project, so we can handle these problem at the start. The goal is to establish a efficient system that works flawlessly. This methodology also emphasizes human respect with means communication is the key to enhancing team collaboration. So we are focusing on the communication in agile as well as in the lean methodology. Prototype model, we have to make a dummy model before we are going towards the development. That might be a expensive method, and sometimes the user got bored at the start of the time, or they might be not giving any interest if they are not satisfied with the prototype. And there is no fixed time when we are developing the prototype, how many iterations are required when we are working on prototype. Might be the customer will be satisfied on second iteration, or might be the customer is not still satisfied after fourth, fifth, or seventh iteration of our updation inside the prototype. So instead of developing a full-fledged software, the prototype model allows developer to work on prototype version of the final product. Prototype is then made available for customer testing, evaluation, and feedback. We have to show the dummy model towards the customer. Based on the gathered feedback, the prototype goes through several iterations of the refinement until it is deemed satisfactory by the customer. The appeal of the prototype approach is hard evaluation that uncovers possible issues before actual development begins. When we are showing a visual model towards our customer, it is easy to close the errors or the problems at the start of before starting off over designing the project. So we can say that it is easy to find the problems when we are going towards the prototype. This approach success lies not only in the development team but also it is also depending on the customer, as we are showing our products progress towards our customer, and we are working according to the feedback of the customer. So the customer is also involved in that method. It is also worth mentioning that the developers often bear the cost of the building prototype. The customer is not satisfied and not giving that project to that organization. We can say that that is the wastage of money that we have given, or we have wasted, or we have put in the design development of the prototype. Rapid application development, RAD model that was introduced in 1991. It focus on getting products built in a much shorter time. Like in lean, we are focusing on the efficiency. In RAD development, we are only focusing on that time. If we need our product in less time, we have to use RAD development method. Also, it increases our budget. RAD is forced a framework which is defending project requirements, prototyping, testing, and implementation. We are not going towards the documentation. Unlike linear models, RAD emphasizes building prototypes with the given requirements and testing them out with the customer. So, first thing is that the difference between the prototype and RAD is that in the prototype model, we are developing the prototype without the feedback of our customer. But in RAD, we are taking the requirements from our customer, and according to their demand, we are generating the prototype. This is done through multiple iteration until the customer is happy with the results. Testing of prototype results in valuable feedback, which helps to eliminate much of the product risk. When our customer is satisfied, we can say that over they will be satisfied when we will deliver our product towards our customer. Using RAD leads to high chances of successful product release within the specified timeline. RAD often uses development tools, like we can use the built-in codes or the tools that can provide us the different functionalities, so we are not working much on the coding. That will reduce over time. Dynamic system model, that we can say that is a much a fine form of RAD model. In RAD model, we are only focusing on the time. If we need over model in less time, we can say that we are going towards the RAD model. But in dynamic system model, we are also trying to manage over budget. In RAD, we are not focusing on the budget, as we are only focusing on the time. This is refined methodology is aimed at the prompt delivery and aligning project goals to the business needs. Okay, that is refined form of our AD model, in which we are also focusing over goals and as well as on the budget. It features four iterative phases: flexibility, feasibility and business study, functional model, design and build, and implementation. Throughout the process, end users are greatly involved in providing the feedback. As in Agile and in RAD, in other methodologies, we are focusing on the feedback. This reduces the risk of straying from the project goals and the requirements. The dynamic system model also features detailed documentation, which is lacking in most agile frameworks. So we are also focusing on the budget as well as on the goal, and also we are focusing on the documentation. Feature driven development, we are making the sprints, but the sprints has a, a smaller size that can be completed within 1 or 2 weeks. So we are focusing on the features. So we can say that we are writing all the features of our solution, and then we are combining 2 or 3 features and making a sprint from these features. So feature driven development is a software development methodology based on agile. Its goal is simple: to prevent confusion that leads to costly rework. As we are doing smaller work, so we can say that that is less changing are required when we are developing something. So FDD is sometimes mistaken as focusing on each of the software feature, but that is not. In that way, we are only listing down all the functionality of our system, and then we are combining 2 or 3 functionalities, and then we have to arrange in a proper manner or in a sequence in which we have to go towards the designing. What feature driven development does is breaking down development activities into feature list on overall model. For each of the features, developer go through an iteration of planning, designing, and building. Typically, a feature should take no longer than 2 weeks to accomplish. The outcome of the FD is quick, impactful results for each of the activities listed as features. This approach is meant for large teams, as the drawback of that development model is that we need a lot of members inside our team. Sometimes we have less members inside our organization, so we are unable to adopt that methodology. Scrum development, as we have to divide our team into 3 parts: the scrum master, and the developer, and the person who is communicating with the customer. So all person are doing their work and not disturbing the development team, so the development time will not be disturbed in the meeting. So Scrum is one of the most flexible software development methodology. It is based on agile philosophy and favored for the incremental and iterative approach. The Scrum methodology involves the product owner, Scrum master, and development team. The product owner is handling the customer and taking the feedback from the customer and guiding the Scrum master, and the Scrum master is giving the guideline to the development team, either they are on the right track or not. The product owner takes input from the client and ensures that the team is on the track in fulfilling the client's requirement. Meanwhile, the scrum masters act as a facilitator and ensures that the team members are familiar with the process. The team takes charge of executing the development. What makes Scrum an ideal methodology in a fast paced environment is how tasks are executed in sprints, as they are dividing all the solution or all the project in small sprints. Each sprint take 4 weeks. The speedy execution allows team to identify issues, introduce solutions, test and gather the feedback in short period. It makes tackling tackle fast paced projects much easier. Now the third thing is that for in first we have explained the difference of application software and the system software. Then we have to compare all these methodologies and we have to choose one from them, and then we have to explain towards our customer the phases of software development life cycle. In software development life cycle, there these steps are involved. In first step we have to plan and gather the requirements. In second step we have to go towards the design. Then third we have to go towards development. Then we have to move towards test and integration. Then we have to move towards the deployment. Then we have to go towards the operationalization and the maintenance. That is a software development life cycle. In planning, first thing is that we have to check the feasibility, either the solution is available for our problem or not. And then we have, if the solution is available and that is beneficial for our customer, we will go towards the requirement collection. We will collect the requirements from our customers. So requirement gathering is most important stage in software development life cycle, as all the solution is based on the requirements and we are developing each and everything according to the requirements. Business analyst and project organizer do client meeting to gather all the requirements of the client, like what to build, who will be the end user, what is the purpose of product, etc. Before creating a product, a core understanding and knowledge of the product is very necessary. We must know why we are designing that product. The first stage of requirement gathering is defining the requirements. Once the requirement analysis is done, the next stage is surely document the software specification and get them approved by the project stakeholders. We conduct the meeting, we have given the idea, we have taken the idea from our customer, and then we have to list down all these requirements on a paper, and then we have to choose either these requirements are familiar related to our product or not. And then we have to make a contract and we have to approve that contract from our stakeholders. This can be accomplished through the SRS, software development specification document, which embraces all the product elements to be created and developed during the product project life cycle. As at the start, the customer and as well as organization and stakeholders know on which product or on which things we are going to work. Then we have to move towards software design. In this design phase of work, the team makes software design decisions regarding the architecture and make of the software solution. So we have to choose the tools, on which tools we have to choose, or on which tools we are going to work, on which software we have to work, which teams members are required. Either we hire some person from outside of our organization. So we have to go towards the solution, we have to write the algorithm, we have to design the flowcharts. This can involve creating design documents, coding guidelines, and discussing the tools, practices, runtimes, or frameworks that will help the team meet the software requirement specification and goal defined in the requirement gathering phase. In this stage of work, the team builds the software solution based on the design decisions made. So we can say that we are doing the paperwork in which we are writing the solution. We are not going towards the coding. Here, the team meet the goals and outcomes set during the software requirements gathering phase by implementing the solution. But that is not on the systems. Now we are moving towards the development. The development process may involve team of people, new technology, and unexpected challenges. Now we are moving towards the implementing these solutions on our systems, in which we are discussing which are the challenges, what are the challenges, what new technologies. So we have to add new things in our process or in our project. Typically work with the technical team leads and product or project managers to unblock the process, make decisions, or provide support. So if we need any tools and that are not available, we have to choose another tool, or we have to make it available, or we have to hire a person that can implement these type of coding inside our project. This stage of work ends once teams have packaged and built their code. So then after the coding we basics, we have to move towards the implementation or coding. In this stage, the exact development begins and the programming is built. The execution of design begins concerning script code. So we have to write the code that can be run on our systems. Developer have follow the coding guidelines defined by their management and programming tools like compilers, interpreters, debuggers, etc. Now we are going to use the software that we have discussed in designing a software. In that stage, we are implementing the coding techniques that we have decided in design phase. Then we have done over coding. We have to move towards the test, as we have divided our problem into sub problems. After testing each and every sprint, we have to go towards the integration, like we are combining all the parts of our solution. In this phase of work, software implementation is packed and testing to assure either we our software is efficient or not, and we are on our goal or not. Testing our quality insurance ensures the solution implemented pass the standard for quality and performance, either our results are accurate. This can involve unit testing, performing integration and end-to-end test verification, validation and reporting, are identifying bugs are defects in the software solution. In testing, we are finding the errors and we are debugging that errors. We are going towards removing that errors. Now we are moving towards the deployment. In this stage of work, the software is deployed into a production environment. The work gathered, designed, developed, and tested is shared with the consumers and user of the software service. Like we are handing over our software to the customer. This process involves provisioning infrastructure within an on premises or cloud provider and defining software development strategy for delivering the changes to a customer. Then we have to take the guidelines or the feedback from the customer and made changes if required. Maintenance and operationalization. In this stage of work, the software is operationalized to ensure there is no issue. Like we have to place our website towards our customer, or we have to give that application, or we can distribute our application towards the user. So we are going towards the operationalization, so we can conduct the problems or issues that may occur after the use of the software. This stage of work can involve reviewing, understanding and monitoring network setting, infrastructure configuration and performance of application service in production. So we can say that we have to check either all the system is good or not, is there any delay time, or some of the results is not meeting to our goals. So we have to check the performance of our software. This process can involve incident resolution or management in the course of any issues or changes made to impact the customer or the user. So we have to make changes if any changes are required. So there can be some crossover or blurring of lines in many of the SDLC phases, but the importance of each phase as a dissimilar element in the overall life cannot be denied. So we can say that each and every stage has its own importance. Sometimes we see that, or we assume that some stage is not so much important, but whenever we are skipping any of the stage, that will affect our results. So without a full analysis of customers need or the requirements for the software or the application, necessary functionality and needed features, design and development cannot be proceed. When we don't know on which software, on which for which reason we are going to design the software, how we can perfectly design our software and we can go towards the development. So every stage has its own important. Without accurate design work forehead, the software cannot be developed. If have not chosen the right tools, we have not done the paperwork, how our coding will be accurate, and if our coding is not accurate, how we can test our project in a proper way. Without skilled developer on the project, the development will be slow or troubled with problems. So we need the experienced person that they can handle each and every stage of the software development. Without being able to accurately test software or an application bugs, would skip through that, that would compromise operational ability or stability. It all interconnected, so we have to follow each and every step of our software development cycle. So that was activity number one, in which we have to guide our customer what is software development cycle, why we have to use that cycle, and we have to compare our methodology, and then we have to tell them what are these methodology and why we are using these methodology, and we have to compare application software and system software. When we have explained all these things in activity number 2, now we have to, according to the scenario that we have discussed in the beginning, we have to choose one suitable methodology for development of mobile application for recording the attendance of our employees. Then we have to justify our selection, like we have to tell what are the plus points of that methodology, what are the negative points of that methodology, why we have chosen, what was over budget, what was over time, what was the size of our team, and according to our resources, how that methodology is best for us. So we have to justify our selection. Now you have to review the chosen methodology is working properly for our application. Like in the last stage of software development cycle, we have to check all the results are accurate, and that is beneficial for our organization, our customer is fully satisfied or not. So in the end, we have to conclude that if we have chosen that methodology, either we have completed all our tasks in a specified timelines, and the results of the software was also accurate, and our customer was satisfied, we have done all these things within budget or not. So we have to review all our work. We can review our work by collection of the comments from the user for evaluation, or we can use the test cases to check the performance of the software. So we can adopt any of the methodology to check either our choice is good or not. So these are the two activities. Is there any issue?
No, miss, thank you.
Okay, then best of luck for your assignment. Take care. Have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.